So what is the block tagging requirement and what are issuers actually responsible for? So Bartek, we've listed some points on the screen, but can you give a quick overview on the additional tagging that now will be required for ESEF submissions?
Of course. So unlike the primary financial statements tagging that we are all familiar with, there was no block tagging requirement last year. There were some text elements to be tagged, like address or name of the company. But block tagging is slightly different. Block tagging is almost like taking a picture of a certain section of your financials. And you will need to block tag information within the notes. So not only the primary financial statements, but mainly the notes, including any accounting policies that are included in those notes. There is a list of tags provided, and it's about 250 tags to choose from. So when doing the block tagging, you will need to use that list. And of course, importantly, the block tagging requirement applies to all the issuers that have tagged their consolidated IFRS financial statements last year. So if you had applied XBRL, then you will need to apply block tagging this year.
And as we mentioned, obviously auditing and validation requirements still apply to this as well, but I guess there's more process on the auditing side as well because of the actual back and forth in terms of the block tagging, correct?
Absolutely. There is a difference in terms of the automated validation between primary financial statements and numerical elements versus validating the text block tagging. There are some technical validations, of course, that the text block tags have to fulfill, and I don't want to go into that. That is almost IT technical. But on the content side, it's almost impossible for a validator to validate the content of the text block. So it's a human process of making sure that the content of the text block is actually what it's supposed to be, that it matches the definition of the text block. And that will mostly be done by the auditors, of course, the preparer, but the auditors will have the job on their hands to make sure that the content of the text block tag is what it's supposed to be.
And just to obviously make a note of this, and probably it'll be quite a nice statement for all the people attending this call as well. This is the last phase in requirement for the ESMA mandate, correct? There's nothing else. We'll talk about what could be in the future, but there's nothing else required from the actual ESMA mandate, correct? After this.
That is right. So at the moment, as the law stands at the moment, that is the second phase of the implementation of the ESEF, and there is nothing coming after that as currently stated.